Dark Souls is a magnificent game, and it's brought to life by the characters that inhabit it, the stories that their actions tell, and the impact they directly have on you. To venture into the unknown without the help of these NPCs is almost unthinkable, but I wouldn't be a good challenge runner if I didn't try to accomplish the impossible. So today, we are going to find out, can you beat Dark Souls 3 without talking? Let's begin. Meet our beautiful character for this run. What a distinguished gentleman. Our friend here has no mouth, yet he must scream. He, has some issues. Gundyr proceeds relatively as normal, although I make some mistakes I wouldn't normally do. Don't know why I'm missing easy parries, but I'm assuming it's because I'm still recovering from my all-hit run, and I have apparently forgotten how to parry and dodge properly, which doesn't exactly bode well for the run we are about to do, but oh well. Time to meet everyone we can't talk to. No Firekeeper, no Shrine Handmaiden, and worst of all, no Andre. Great, this is going to be fun, isn't it? First off, let's talk about our base problems. Because we can't interact with Firelink NPCs, we cannot level up, upgrade weapons, or even buy supplies. So not only are souls 100% useless in this run, it makes this run much harder than even an SL1. Without talking, we can't even get the Dragonslayer axe, which is one of the best weapons for a no upgrade run. It's clear that, to beat this run, we will have to get creative with our weapon choices, as well as increase our skill levels. Additionally, because we cannot upgrade or allot Estus, plus the fact most of our spells are locked behind NPCs like Orbeck, meaning using any spells during this run is effectively impossible, forcing us to use melee throughout the run. But if I let any of those restrictions stop me, I wouldn't be a challenge runner, now would I? Luckily, because of the nature of this challenge, the early bosses, such as Vort, aren't going to be difficult. However, the further we get in this challenge, the more the gap between our damage and the boss's health will grow. So enjoy the easy kills for now, because it won't last long. Without the banner, we cannot proceed. Luckily, you can just kill her for the banner. No talking required. Well, since we are here, it couldn't hurt to try against the Dancer. After all, our damage isn't going to get much better, so might as well see what we're going to have to deal with. Oh, it's gonna be one of those types of runs, huh? After learning that violence is the answer when you can't talk, I run through the Undead Settlement, ignoring just about everything. Although, I do pick up an Undead Bone Shard. Luckily, we can still upgrade what flasks we have using this, considering you can just burn it at a bonfire, no talking required. The further we get into this challenge, the more the boss's health will grow compared to our low damage. So to combat this, we are going to be picking up weapons that deal status effect damages, namely Bleed and Frost. The first one I pick up is the Irithyll Straightsword. However, since I started as Warrior, I won't be able to use this until I pick up the Hunter's Ring. While I could have chosen a class like Mercenary to be able to use it earlier, I have my reasons for sticking with Warrior as our starting class. And since the Hunter's Ring is just before the Twin Princes, this sword is going to be sitting in my backpack for a long time. I sacrifice these poor souls to gravity in hopes it might just spare me later, and then I head towards our next boss, the Crystal Sage. This fight is supposed to be easy, although for some reason I couldn't help but mess up at every conceivable point. Why won't I remember how to dodge? While this does lead to some closer than I'd like to admit moments, I managed to clutch up and not play like I was blindfolded, defeating the Crystal Sage with no healing to spare. Our next stop is the DLC. There's some items in there that would help this run go smoother. Alright, we can't talk to Gale, so no access to the DLC. While there is a way to access the DLC despite this, The setup required is much farther down the line, so that's not really an option. Heading into the cathedral, we get our first damage upgrade, the Lloyd's Sword Ring, increasing our damage at full health by 10%, which is really helpful. Hey Kirk, I will make sure you regret that. The deacons proceed as normal. Simply kill the little ones and then confront the main body. Hit him enough times and eventually... Wait, what? Okay, that was surely a fluke. To prevent that from happening again, equip the Lord's Sword Ring and buff our Estus Flask with the Bone Shards. Second try goes much better. However, somehow, I'm still getting hit. Holy, are deacons actually difficult in this run? Surely not. Instead of pondering why I suck at this game, I go through the swamp, lighting fires and picking up any items that could possibly help me. Although, there aren't many of those. And even if we can't quickstep through the swamp, rolling gets the job done just fine, and we are ready to try the Abyss Watchers. While they are the first Lord of Cinder, I've fought them many times. The first phase switches between giving the Abyss Watchers severe back pain and an over-glorified game of keep away. In the second phase, you are still giving the Abyss Watchers back pain, except everything is now on fire, and he acts like he has just drunk 3 different energy drinks and just won't stay still. Things were going really well until I got overconfident and died, just as the health bar was so close. No matter, I just have to play less cocky. And after relearning to never turn your back on an Abyss Watcher, after giving him more back pain and yet another close call, and after enough backsteps to permanently cripple someone, the Abyss Watchers go down. And for my efforts, I get a lot of souls. If only they weren't absolutely useless. I grab our next Undead Bone Shard and head down to our favorite skeleton. Wolnir is as normal. Although, we have lower damage than normal, just hit his bracelets and he will die. Hey, Wolnir, I'd appreciate it if you'd let me get that last bracelet. Wolnir. Oh Wolnir, let down your hand, or I'll tell Cassandra what you do on Fridays. That's what I thought. The Sulyvahn beasts are quite annoying enemies to fight against. However, they drop a usable ring that is also useful, although you have to win to get it. No matter, the attack patterns are simple and repetitive, and even if it takes longer than usual, I still claim my reward, the Pontiff Ride Eye Ring. Oh, right, we haven't done Deacons yet. I make a quick stop to upgrade my flask, and then I head back to Dancer, because this is, ironically enough, a preferable fight compared to the Deacons. The biggest problem is that the Dancer's diverse moveset. Whenever the fight drags on long enough, she will pull out combos that you don't see often, which is interesting but also equally annoying. Ultimately, while I do get close, I'd prefer to try and get something that will help make Dancer more possible. So, I go back to Deacons. And it seems that taking a break from Deacons to fight against other bosses was exactly what I needed. I managed to shake off whatever curse I had that was preventing me from playing like a competent person, and I killed Deacons with minimal issues. Now we can finally enter Irithyll. You know, normally I record 2 audio tracks, with the first being the game audio and the second being my reactions at the time, although most of it gets removed during the voiceovers. However, to commit to the theme of the run, I did not record any of my live reactions to make it a true no-talk run, which was 100% unnecessary, but I just thought it would be funny to do, and I kinda wanted to talk about it. Yeah, that's about all. With that unnecessary tangent over, I make my way through the dungeon. Nothing unusual, even if the jailers reduce my max HP, I already have such low health, it barely matters. I eventually get down to the bridge, and near the end, I see rubble in my way. So, I go to the left to avoid it, but end up dodging off the cliff, plummeting to my death. No matter. I doubt that'll be the last time I die to gravity. After wiping my memory of what just happened, I confront Yhorm. The only thing to note here is that if we get hit at any moment, we die. So we have to no-hit Yhorm. Luckily, we have the Storm Ruler, so winning isn't difficult. First try. And the Storm Ruler is also usable in this run. The weapon art has decent range on it, allowing you to damage things safely. However, the damage on it sucks. Like, objectively so. However, this has given me a unique idea for Dancer. You see, the Dancer is actually active before you ever enter her arena. So theoretically, you could hit her with the Storm Ruler, killing her without a fight. However, the Storm Ruler doesn't have enough range to hit the Dancer, apparently. Does not exactly surprise me, but I had to check if it worked or not. I also used the Great Sword as a regular weapon, and I'm not exactly impressed with the results. Well, time to stop getting sidetracked and get back to my original plan. Down at the bottom of the Profane Capital in this poison swamp are 3 hand thingies. I think they're called Monstrosities of Sin, but I called them the hand thingies. And one of them drops something that will be very useful for this run. The problem being, it has been at least a year since I last fought one of these things. You don't really encounter them on a normal route, unless you specifically go out of your way to mess with them. Luckily, their moveset is seemingly simple to dodge, so after a long fight, I claim my reward. Eleonora. This axe has a high base damage, but the most useful thing is its weapon art that applies 2 different effects. The first is that it adds passive bleed buildup to your weapon. The second is that you heal 15 HP on each hit. Let me show you what I mean. While the Dancer is resistant to bleed, using this weapon you can proc it every so often. The healing on each hit is kind of useless though. While the base damage of the weapon is definitely improved compared to our axe, it has one glaring weakness. The weapon art takes 5 business days to actually apply, consumes most of your stamina bar, and only lasts 25 seconds. And after my fair share of deaths to the Dancer, I decided our best course of action is just to fight against Pontiff. Oh, it's gonna be one of those days, huh? Okay, Pontiff, have it your way. By parrying Pontiff, you can deal a ton of damage to him. However, do you see that? Even though I successfully parried Pontiff, I still took some chip damage. This is a sign of an imperfect parry. While it is within the time to get a riposte, it's not timed well enough to get iframes from the parry itself. The problem here being, I don't have enough healing to deal with each unsuccessful parry, nor do I have the patience for it. Well, screw it. It's Yamfa time. Jump on top of this railing here. By running forward and quickly flicking back, you can trigger Death Cam without needing Teardrop, allowing you to skip Pontiff entirely. However, there's an issue. This seems to be another controller-specific glitch. I don't think you can do it on keyboard and mouse. Trust me, I have been trying for longer than I care to admit. Moving onwards, no matter. What about Dancer? Well, there is a way to easily kill the Dancer. Simply stand right about here and enter the boss room before rapidly spamming backstep. This will freeze the Dancer's AI. All you have to do is pull out your bow and shoot her to death for an easy Dancer kill. Or at least, in a normal run you could. We don't have nearly enough ammunition to kill the Dancer, and the only way to get more arrows is by buying some from the Shrine Handmaiden. And to do that, you have to talk to her, obviously, so much for that plan. Well, there is one thing that can increase our odds, but it won't help much. While there's no reason to kill the demon here, I can't leave Sigurd to die, so after ensuring his safety, even if I can't talk to him, I head upwards and claim my rewards. Flynn's ring and the Chloranthi ring. While the upgrade is small, it still gives me a much needed boost to my power. The dancer is tricky, and sometimes hard to predict, but after so many attempts at her, I've learned a lot, and I start doing better. I dodge gracefully and play patiently, and finally, after hours of attempts, I clutch up. Almost hitlessing dancer, although I get overconfident and get hit right before she dies. No matter, we have claimed victory against the dancer. All things considered, this talkless run is going alright so far. The bosses have been getting more annoying, but I'm sure I'll be able to beat this. Probably. In any case, there's only one item in the entirety of Lothric that interests me, the Knight's Ring. It increases our strength by 5 points, giving us more damage and allowing us to one-hand the Eleonora, if need be, as well as access to more weapons. And after some deaths to Dragonslayer, as well as a close attempt, I decide we should go teach Pontiff a well-deserved lesson. But the better damage does not fix our overarching problem, the bad parrying shield. So I go back to the undead settlement to pick up a familiar friend, the small lever shield. And my goodness, it is so much better. With this, I don't take that chip damage as often, increasing the amount of times I can successfully parry Pontiff. Although I still die quite a few times. You know, I wonder what would happen if I got something even better for parrying. I head to the sewers to grab a special weapon, the Caestus. However, there does come a risk to using it. Because of how fast it is, you don't have a lot of iframes or damage reduction during the parry. However, because the parry is almost instant with no windup, if you have a lot of skill, you can reactively parry the bosses, giving you more opportunities to successfully parry the boss. And with enough practice, fighting Pontiff is going to look kinda like this. That was oddly fun, although I have a sneaking suspicion that feeling is not going to last long. After all, our next boss is a slug with aimbot. Okay, you know what? Surely it won't be that bad, right? Oh, right. I forgot Aldrich has Dark Souls 2 hitboxes. Here's a quick replay, because apparently the handle does as much damage as the magic blade for some reason. Let's talk about the horrible boss that is Aldrich. The first is the questionable hitboxes, pretty self-explanatory. However, the worst is probably the variety of magic attacks that can quickly kill you, especially when you don't have much HP. Then there's the tracking arrow rain that can be comboed with various magical attacks, leaving you with nowhere to go. Okay, Aldrich, you think you're tough? I have a surprise for you. It's Yamfa time. Stand exactly here near the fog wall, then enter and spam backstep. It may take you a couple tries to get the positioning perfect, but if you stay persistent, you can freeze Aldrich's AI. While we can't use a bow to kill him because we don't have enough arrows, this glitch in particular can be done without needing to use a bow. Why you can move around and hit Aldrich with your weapon and not Dancer is beyond me, but I've learned well enough not to question these sorts of things. You deserve that, Aldrich, let's be honest. Well, we are back to the Dragonslayer, and guess what? He is still a coward who hides behind his shield. But why is he exactly difficult? Besides the shield hugging that annoys me endlessly, the problem here is entirely in the second phase. I'm not really afraid of his first phase attacks, you can normally dodge them with little issues. Although, if you do get hit, you will die. The issue is actually the dragons that shoot annoying projectiles, lasers, and bombs during the second phase. You have to pay attention to them while also keeping an eye on the Dragonslayer armor. To do this, you need to pay attention to sound cues as well as making quick glances to see what type of attack each dragon is doing. So you have to look at opposite sides of the arena while keeping it brief so you don't get killed by the actual boss on the ground. Trying to juggle the fight with this method requires a lot of patience and skill. Eventually, I decided on a more aggressive approach to the second phase, where instead of taking my eyes off the Dragonslayer, I just panic roll away when I hear the sound cues, which sometimes didn't help me as much as I thought it would, but with enough persistence, I eventually defeat the Dragonslayer. Thanks for watching my suffering thus far. As a small channel, it takes a while to make these videos, so if you like, subscribe, or even watch some of my other videos, it helps my channel grow and allows me to make even better videos. What you do matters. And with that, back to the video. After making my way to the Twin Princes, I quickly realized that this is going to be difficult. As for any methods of making this fight a joke, the only glitch I could perform to make this easier is an AI freeze in the second phase transition. However, it requires a bow to even capitalize on that glitch, and without arrows, our options are but one: to push onwards using my own skill. No matter, the Twin Princes can be bled, and if it bleeds, we can kill it. By using the reinforced club with its innate bleed and high poise damage, we can put some serious damage onto the Twin Princes. Although it requires both skill and patience to defeat the Twin Princes, a successful attempt will look something like this. With that, only one remains. We've come quite a long way, so I can't give up now. Now, for some reason, people think you have to talk to the Firekeeper to be transported to the final area. However, you can just ignore her entirely and just go up to the bonfire with the prompt, kneel. It's time for the finale. Fighting against the Soul of Cinder, one thing becomes painfully clear. My damage sucks. Like, horrendously so. If we average out our damage at 90 damage a hit, it will take 73 hits to reach phase 2, and an additional 47 to win the fight, while the Soul of Cinder needs to land only 5 successful hits, assuming I have time to heal between hits, and assuming he uses attacks that don't one-shot, which a lot of them do. With that, it's clear that I need to improve our damage somehow, so I grabbed the Hunter's Ring so I can use the Irithyll Straight Sword for the frost effect. However, in practice, it works a different way entirely. Even with the frost proc dealing 11% of the boss's max HP, the amount of hits it takes for it to occur is massive, to the degree that we would actually be doing more damage using the club's better initial damage and getting the very occasional bleed effect. So if frost won't help me, what about glitches? Well, the only useful glitch involves a great bow. However, since we don't have the stats or the ammunition, that isn't possible, and to my knowledge, there isn't any other glitch that could help me, leaving the only option is to use my skill to overcome this obstacle. However, there is one thing I can do to improve my damage. I equip the Flynn's Ring, which improves damage the lower equip load you are at. The downside being, because I have no armor on now, the amount of attacks that can one-shot me has also increased. But I think the reward outweighs the risk. As far as the fight itself goes, the Soul of Cinder has a very broad moveset, but let's go over the two biggest problems for me. The first being the curved sword moveset. There's little good opportunities to actually punish him during that phase. The other is during the spear moveset, while the attacks themselves are probably the easiest to dodge, second only to the mage moveset. The problem is the healing move that the Soul of Cinder does. If he at any moment decides to do that, it will reset at least 1 minute's worth of damage depending on the phase. If you couple that with the slow burn of the curved sword moveset, then he can easily make you waste 2 minutes of your time. While there is a way to stop his healing, the first being just staggering him, although it is a little too inconsistent to actually rely on it. The best method is the dual charm, which if thrown will stop the healing effect. However, since we cannot talk to the Shrine Handmaiden, that isn't a viable option. Luckily, the healing move isn't common. What is common about it, however, is the amount of irritation it brings when he uses it. Here's a fun fact. The Soul of Cinder alone took about 30% of the entire duration of this run, but after hours of attempts and countless deaths, I do two things to ensure my victory. The first is take a nap. The second is change how I approach the second phase. Instead of confronting every attack head-on, I instead stay at a medium range and intentionally aggro attacks that I can punish. While this does make the second phase take longer, it's better than another 5 hours of attempts at Soul of Cinder. And with that, my victory is sealed. Dark Souls 3 beaten without talking. If you enjoyed, consider joining my Discord, the link is in the description. And consider watching some of my other videos, I promise, they're just as good as this one. With that, have a good day, and don't you dare go hollow.